Do you think the Senate Democrats need a new leader?
Yes, I do, but that's not in my hands, so that's up to them.
I think we're in an unprecedented moment that demands that we consider whether or not it's the time for new leadership.
Well, it's pretty simple. Either he wouldn't or couldn't keep the Senate Democrats together.
Do you think Schumer should stay as the Senate minority
I mean,
leader?
that's up to Senate Democrats. I'm very disappointed in what happened, but that's up to them.
An open revolt among the Democrats now unfolding after the government shutdown ended. Chuck Schumer is the target of their fury, with a growing number of the caucus calling on him to step aside from leadership. And Fox News Sunday anchor Shannon Bream is here to talk about it. Let me show you a list, Shannon, of all the Democrats who have called on him to step down. Most of them are in the House, okay? And you might see some familiar names in there, or also people you've never heard of in your life. But Senator Chris Murphy, that's on the Senate side, and this is what he said.
The fourth major moment this year where a handful of Democrats have crossed over and voted with Donald Trump. That means we need more effective leadership. That also means that the caucus has to decide for itself that we're not going to continue to break apart like this.
Senator Cory Booker also, I think he was the first to say Schumer should go. They both might have 2028 aspirations. Shannon, could Chuck Schumer feel this pressure and actually decide to step down from leadership?
Gosh, that's a tough one, but a great question, because you see Nancy Pelosi stepping away after her years as Speaker. She wasn't currently leading the caucus over in the House. Senator Schumer is still leading Democrats over in the Senate. Now, the question is whether he's led them well. Those names that you had rolling by, Seth Moulton was one of them, a congressman who was out of Massachusetts. He gave a really interesting interview when he said Schumer has failed on 2 points. First of all, he didn't keep the caucus together. Even though he didn't vote to reopen the government, he didn't stop 8 other Senate Democrats from doing so. And also, in Moulton's assessment of the situation, he says he let President Trump prove that his, quote, strong arm tactics will work. So despite decades of running things in Washington, at least on the Democrat side of things, there are growing voices who say it's time for Schumer to step aside. Will he follow the Pelosi example?
It just reminds me of anger at times against McConnell, anger at times against Pelosi, movements to push Pelosi out, people who ran against her. These folks who are deeply entrenched in leadership, they do not go easily, Shannon. Is there any indication that Schumer is inclined to give up his post?
I don't know. I mean, we have seen some people announcing their retirements or that they won't run again. There's been a lot of chatter about some tough primary challengers that he would potentially face. Of course, the name that keeps coming up is Congresswoman Ocasio-Cortez. Would she be a challenge to him? Is she just going to vault over the Senate and maybe run in 28 for president? I don't know. But he knows there's a lot of heat from his left flank. And maybe he, the next time he's got to make a decision about running, he says, OK, time to pass the baton. You've got the pressure, too, from people inside the party like David Hogg, who was the DNC vice chair and before there was this big falling out, because he said, I'm raising money to actively run against older incumbents because I think it's time for generational change.
In the meantime, Shannon, the BBC has apologized to President Trump. He is threatening them with a $1 billion legal threat. This is a quote from the BBC that Samir Shah has separately sent a personal letter to the White House, making clear to Trump that he and the corporation are sorry for the edit of the president's speech on the 6th of January 2021, which featured in the program. While the BBC sincerely regrets the manner in which the video clip was edited, we strongly disagree. There is a basis for a defamation claim. From your legal putting on your legal hat, what are the chances of this lawsuit going forward?
Yeah, there are different standards in the British law and what happens in the UK, but this potentially they're threatening to file this in federal court in Florida. And you may run into some issues there. There may be an argument against venue. Did these clips ever air in whole in the US? Is this the proper venue for it? But I think just the threat of it has actually gotten some movement, obviously, from the BBC, apologizing but saying, no, we're not going to pay anything out. And, at this point, if you've watched the videos, you can see the editing. It's hard to believe that this was, quote, inadvertent or we didn't intend to give this wrong impression. So it'll be interesting to see if that lawsuit actually gets filed and what the venue problem may turn out to be in pursuing it.
Yeah, I'm going to guess the lawsuit gets filed, but we'll see. We'll see where it goes. What's coming up this Sunday, Shannon?
So the speaker is with us exclusively on Sunday to talk about what happens post-shutdown. We're also going to have a healthcare debate with GOP Senator Rick Scott, a former healthcare executive himself, and Congressman Ami Bera, who is a Democrat and also a medical doctor. Plus, Riley Moore is going to be here, Congressman, to talk to us about the religious persecution around the globe. He's been a big voice on that.
Great. Looking forward to that. Thank you, Shannon.
See you Sunday. Thanks, guys.
Sunday.
I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.